Jacksonville Jaguars fans, welcome into Duval Daily, presented by GenJag.com. I'm Jordan DeLugo. Thanks so much for being here. Monday, July 7th. I hope everyone had a happy, safe holiday weekend. Happy Independence Day to everybody out there. Ready to get back to work this week. Talk some Jags football with y'all as we get closer and closer to the start of training camp. And once training camp begins, y'all know it's hot and heavy. We'll have coverage basically every day. There will be off days here and there from training camp, but we'll still try to get some content out for you on those days. But training camp practice days they're a grind, but they're a lot of fun. I'm excited to get out there and do it. I think it's for media, going to be kicking off around July 23rd, something like that. So a couple weeks away. And that's going to be awesome because once training camp starts, you get into the preseason very quickly, and then regular season just around the corner. So we really are getting very close to real football. We are. But for right now, we are still in the dead period, and a lot of people thinking about fantasy football. We did a fantasy football show, I think it was last week or the week before, talking about like Jaguars players that you could potentially target, where they're being valued right now. Do I think that they're good values at that point? And so kind of continuing with that, we did talk about Brenton Strange, and PFF has tabbed Brenton Strange, Jaguars tight end, as a potential breakout candidate for 2025, and they actually listed him at the top of their potential breakouts, which is pretty interesting. And so we're going to dive into that and just discuss, do I think that Strange has the physical ability, the talent to break out? Do I think the situation is right for him to break out? All that good stuff. So really appreciate y'all tuning in. And we'll also talk about just you can break out from a tight end perspective and also not be fantasy relevant. You can break out in terms of playing well at the tight end position and be very useful for your team and still not be a super fantasy relevant guy. So we'll dive into all that. Really appreciate y'all being here. If you enjoy the content, please like, and if you have not already, please subscribe. A lot of folks watch the channel are not subscribed, so please be sure to do that. Really appreciate y'all's support of the channel, and we're just trying to provide the most consistent and well thought out Jaguars coverage that there is out there. So again, thank y'all so much for supporting. So PFF lists Brenton Strange as a potential tight end breakout for fantasy in 2025. And it's Jonathan Macri who posted this article. They believe he has a lot of similarities to some of the different tight ends that have had breakout fantasy seasons over the last couple years. And I know a lot of our viewers also take a look at PFF articles. So I just wanted to discuss this one and give my kind of take on it. So they talk about how when Evan Ingram was out of the lineup last year, Brenton Strange, he had 4 top 12 finishes in the 8 games that Ingram was not in the lineup. Obviously, so you're talking about half of his weeks were fantasy relevant in standard formats where you have 12-team leagues, right? That's not bad. I mean, it's not great, but it's not horrible. They also talk about Evan Ingram no longer being in Jacksonville, so that should help Brenton Strange target share. That should help his ability to be on the field. They don't mention anything about Christian Kirk not being available last year, and De'Ami Brown coming to Jacksonville this year. So those are 2 things that I kind of think hurts the case for Brenton Strange being a true breakout tight end, somebody who you feel good about having in your top 12 or in your lineup on a weekly basis in fantasy football. I feel that way because I think De'Ami Brown is going to have a larger target share at the end of the season than Brenton Strange will. You look at just kind of historically with Rams offenses, with Liam Cohen offenses, wide receivers are featured more in the passing game than tight ends are. It's just kind of the way it is. And the Jaguars brought De'Ami Brown in here for a reason and paid him $10 million for a reason. They want him to be heavily featured in the passing game. And so even if De'Ami Brown and Brenton Strange are on a similar pace, targets and receptions wise, you've got 2 clear guys ahead of them. I think you also have a running back out of the backfield in Travis Etienne, and there's a couple other guys that can contribute in the pass game as well. When you look at Bashal Tutin and LeQuint Allen, especially. But Travis Etienne has proven that he can be a heavily utilized pass catcher out of the backfield. De'Ami Brown, the Jaguars saw what he did late in the year for the Washington Commanders, the ability that he's shown throughout his career when targeted, and then even going back to what he did at North Carolina, and they see him as somebody who can really contribute. So all of a sudden, even though Brenton Strange is tight end one, I think the argument for him being a high target share and super productive player consistently in this offense is really a bit of a reach at this point. And that has nothing to do with his physical ability. I do think if Liam Cohen was the Jaguars coach last year, and it was the same situation where Christian Kirk was out for a lot of the year, where Evan Ingram was out for a lot of the year, that Brenton Strange would actually have been a better producer than he was last year. I think that Liam Cohen would have gotten him the ball a lot because he was good. He was impressive. And his skill set is really well-rounded. I mean, he has the ability to line up in the slot, to line up in line, to line up as an H-back. You can move him around the formation a lot, and you can get him the ball in a lot of different ways because he is big. He is strong. He wants the smoke, right? Like, he's a physical player who is ready for contact, ready to run through contact as a ball carrier, ready to block at a really high level in space, and ready to just compete. And you like having those types of guys on your team. He's also got solid hands. You've seen him go up and make some plays on the football that are really impressive, both in practice and in games. You saw that throughout his not super long career of production at Penn State, but his kind of breakout year that led him to being a second-round pick by the Jaguars. It was impressive. So there's a lot to like about Brenton Strange's game. I think as the Jaguars tight end one this year, he is going to have a good season. I also think the Jaguars are going to be in a lot of two tight end sets. Liam Cohen, he liked to do that in Tampa. I think you saw them bring in Hunter Long and Johnny Munt and Quentin Morris and even Patrick Herbert, Justin Herbert's little brother out of Oregon, for a reason. They want guys in there that can go in and be good blockers and not be net negatives in the passing game. Like, if you're going to be targeted because of, the situation calls for it. Teams are giving a lot of attention to Brian Thomas Jr., Travis Hunter. You might be a leak out guy. You might be a guy the defense isn't paying him as much attention to. Can you make the play in the passing game for us? You don't need to elevate the passing game. You just need to be, a cog in the wheel, so to speak. So a cog in the machine. So there's just a lot to me that's pointing to, if you're drafting Brenton Strange to be a starting tight end, maybe you're just a big fan of his game. Maybe you're a Jags fan that wants to get as many Jags players on the team as they can. Maybe you want to stack Trevor Lawrence with a receiver, right? Brenton Strange. I would not advise doing that. I mean, if you want to do a late round swing and have an earlier tight end that you select, maybe. But I just don't see a path to him having a consistent season as a receiver for the Jaguars from a target share standpoint. I think a lot of weeks he'll be fourth in the pecking order in terms of receiving targets, whether it be, I think usually you're going to have Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter up there at the top, but then I think De'Ami Brown can sneak into the top three or will be in the top three a lot. I think Travis Etienne can be in the top 3 or 4 a lot. So I think beyond Brian Thomas Jr. and Travis Hunter, who are going to be target hogs, I honestly think that there's going to be a fairly even distribution of targets between Strange, Brown, and Etienne, and I would stack it Brown, then Strange, then Etienne in terms of those targets. So that's kind of just a tough place to be to really break out. If he was in a situation where the Jaguars hadn't drafted Travis Hunter and you were sitting with Brian Thomas Jr., De'Ami Brown, and then Brenton Strange was like the clear number 3, yeah, or even you could argue number 2 at times. Yeah, I could see that. Obviously, that wouldn't be the best situation for the Jaguars passing offense because you'd be missing out on Travis Hunter, who's an awesome player, potential game changer for you. One of the best hands guys I've ever seen, unbelievably explosive and creates great separation as a route runner and as a ball carrier. So happy to have Travis Hunter here, but I definitely don't think that he helps Brenton Strange potential production profile here. So I do think Strange is going to have a good season. I think he's going to have some weeks where Liam Cohen and company, Grant Udinski, they see, he could give us some serious mismatch advantages. Maybe there's weeks where they're going up against a defense that they're really expecting to try to bracket or focus on Brian Thomas Jr. or Travis Hunter or both. And they're just like, look, we're getting some advantageous matchups with Brenton Strange. We're going to utilize those. And I think there's also just going to be times where like short yardage situations, and I don't mean like 3rd and 1, I mean like, 3rd and 3 to 4, where they're not sure they really want to run the ball, but they want to get this first down. I think Brenton Strange in the quick game can be very useful in that regard. I absolutely think he's going to be a quick game weapon for them. I also think he can be a red zone threat for them. And so he's going to have utilization. He's going to play a lot. He's going to be on the field a lot. He's going to be targeted, but in terms of breaking out truly in fantasy, I don't see it. Breaking out as a player, as someone who is useful for his offense and helps them win games, I do see that. So you can kind of take that for what you will. That's kind of how I see the Brenton Strange 2025 season going. A good year, a year fans can be excited about, but maybe not a year that fantasy owners will be particularly excited about. The way things are stacking up right now. Let me know what y'all think in the comment section below. And if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. Y'all have a good one.